Parece que chegamos a tempo. Tem um dispositivo para opor que vai derrubar a barreira, mas por pouco tempo. Vocês precisam conseguir uma chance para ela.
Mantenham o resto dos homens do Klaw fora da colina. Tenho mais tempo. Só vou da frente até eu conseguir aqui.
Alright, what's going on everybody? So this is the raid build that I run for K Bishop. Now I do change up my gear pieces based on the objectives whenever I'm speed running. If I'm playing casually, then I'll just play casually. But if I'm speed running, I'll change up, my gear pieces based on the objectives. This is the slot 1 piece I run to, signature attack piece. But let's look at the stats a little bit real quick. You really want Valor and Precision on every single gear slot, right? That's pretty much what you want to have. Valor and Precision on every slot. You want to have at least 1 roll of proficiency on your build. You don't really need a roll of intensity, but having a roll of intensity definitely could help, but you don't need to have a roll of intensity, right? You really just want the Valor and Precision. You can go ahead and see my gear pieces. You get this from the vault, the elite vaults right here. You get an extra 15% blink dash distance. You really want to have this piece in the beginning of the raid specifically, right? And you get this piece right here. I have the wrong piece on. This is supposed to be a Valor, Precision, and Resolve piece, and that's it, right? Where is that piece at? It's right here. Same piece, right? And you want this to be a 3-stat piece, like this one, not a 2-stat, because see, like right now my willpower, recovery, effectiveness is at a 219. My crit damage is at a 359, right? That's with this 3-stat piece, right? I got the same thing right here, 2-stat piece. Now watch my crit damage, watch my resolve, right? Crit damage is gonna go up by 3%, 362. So my willpower went down a whole bunch, but my crit damage only went up a little bit. So you want to have this as a 3-stat. Not only that, but you don't want to have a damage buff as a 16 hit, because see, you got a damage buff right here, right? So you don't want to have a damage buff as a 16 hit. You really want to have a perk like this 3rd perk right here, like that right there, the Assault Aurora Recharge Assistant. That's really what you want to have, right? Because the Assault Aurora Recharge rate, it'll go up to 35%, right? It's really what you want to have, because like I said, you have the 16 hit buff, and this this extra warp arrow piece comes with this third perk, right? Or if you don't have, you know, this third perk right here, you can get one with like a roid recharge burst or an intrinsic recharge burst on it. So you prefer to have that over the damage buff piece. You prefer for it to be 3 stats as well. That way you still have a little bit of willpower. So you want to have that Valor Precision on your minor artifact with the Cosmic Surge, right? You want to have that proficiency on there too, because like I said, Kate needs at least 1 roll of proficiency, and this is the only spot you're going to be able to get proficiency from, so you need to have that proficiency from right here. But you want to have the Assault Rogue recharge assistance on it. So I just found this in my inventory, right? So boom, so once I equip that, now my Assault Rogue recharge rate will be up to a 27%. And like I said, if you have the extra warp arrow with the Assault Rogue recharge rate, you can get this from the helicarrier or villain sectors, your assault rogue recharge rate to be 44%. That's really how you want your stats to look for as far as the beginning of the raid. Except for you really want to have that roll of proficiency. It definitely helps. Now speaking of like the proficiency, the signature attack piece, you really want to have this, right? You really want to have this piece. It's gonna boost your crit chance by 20%, and not only yours but your teammates too. Generally speaking, people have like 25% crit chance in the raid, because like right now I'm sitting at where 23% crit chance. I have 1 roll of proficiency. That's right here. I have this 1 roll. So if I equip, you know, 2 rolls, I'm gonna have 31% proficiency. Yeah, 31% proficiency, right? So on average, and if I have 0 rolls, where's my other pro at? Okay, so if I have 0 rolls, I have 18% proficiency. So most of the time people can have like 25%. And this is how you get to 100% crit chance in the raid, right? So you hit them with the shock, right? And this comes with the potentiator too. You get this from the Royal Gauntlet. So you hit them with the shock, and your teammates hit them, you know, with whatever attack they have. So your crit chance just went from 25% to a 45%. So then you got your Thor that's gonna boost your crit chance by another 20%. Now you're at a 65. Then you have a Black Widow that's gonna boost your crit chance by another 20%. Now you're at an 85. Then whoever else might boost your crit chance by like 10%, right? And if you want to, you can equip the other major artifact, which is the second North Stone of Lethal Will, which is pretty much gonna put you at 100% crit chance, and 20% comes from this slot 1 piece. And that's really why you want to have this slot 1 piece. Now for the stats for this slot 1 piece, you really want to have Valor and Precision, right? And that's for the exotic. Like I mentioned earlier, for the legendary damage versions, you know, like Valor, Precision, Legendary, you want to have 3 stats. But for the exotics, you want to have 2 stats, right? And this is why you want to have 2 stats. So look at the stat difference. I think it's like 11% crit damage, somewhere around there. So even though this is not the same piece, this is a 2 stat piece and this is a 3 stat piece, right? So my crit damage went to a 370, whereas before it was a 359. So for your exotics like this, you want to have a 2 stat piece. So if I put on 2 stat pieces, my crit damage goes from a 359 to a 383. So that's a huge difference in crit damage, right? So you prefer to have the 2 stat exotic pieces, right? But now in this case, I'm not going to put on this 2 stat exotic piece over this 3 stat legendary piece. I'm still not going to do that because this is a Tachyon Surge, right? I'm still not going to put on this over this in the beginning of the raid, even though the stats are higher, because this has signature attacks. Now, speaking of this piece, like I said, you get this from the Royal Gauntlet, but you can also get signature attack pieces, you know, like this right here. This is just a random piece, right? You can get this with a potentiator too. And not only that, but this third perk right here, this rampant assistance, this can come on, or this piece pretty much this piece right here. Instead of power attacks, it can come with signature attacks. That's really what you want to have. But the only thing is, it's a shield piece, right? As you can see, like on the right hand corner, shield pieces never come with precision on them. So if you go over to the codex, I think it shows it over here somewhere. Yeah, shield pieces never come with precision on them. So you can kind of target farm a few of the pieces as long as you know the right attributes that you want. Or you can run the daily vault, which I don't have on my objective tab because I haven't picked it up yet. You can run the daily vault as well, and you can get a piece rewarded to you with like the 2.2% aurora recharge rate and the signature attacks. Now for the major artifact in the beginning of the raid, there's 2 ways that I do it. Sometimes I run the second North Stone of Lethal Will. Sometimes I run the Dark Code. It just all depends on how I feel like doing it, right? These 2 are, from what I can tell, are the best options to run. I wouldn't really run the ring, because if you're gonna run the ring, you might as well run the Dark Code, because with the Dark Code you're gonna get all of your heroics back. The only thing bad about the Dark Code is you have to use all of your heroics, so your ultimate has to be on cooldown. So you don't want your ultimate to be, well, you want it to be on cooldown, but you want it to be active whenever you pop your Dark Code, because whenever you pop your Dark Code, you get an extra, like your heroics come back, but while your ultimate's active, you get an extra 50% heroic recharge rate So I'll go ahead and activate my ultimate now. So right now it's at 28%. So whenever I activate it, if I don't die, it's going to be at a 69% awesome number, right? So that's when you actually want to activate your dark hole, because it's going to allow you to recover and regenerate one extra warp arrow. And again, that's why you want to have this extra warp arrow right here. Now when it comes to Commander Crawler, I do make a switch, and the only reason I make a switch is just because of the damage difference that it would make. And I'll take this vest off right here, and I'll put on this Discordant Guard, and I'll change this right here, and I'll put on the Provocative Storm, and you can see my damage, and my crit damage went to a 417, where before I think it was a 359. Now you can get this from the priority mission. If you don't have this right here, this is one thing that you want to do. You want to have a potentiator on. So like right now I have this Cosmic Scattershot. You want to have a Cosmic Potentiator to match it. So let's say you have Scattershot that's a Shock Scattershot. You want a Shock Potentiator. So even if you do have a purple piece, you can still be a purple piece bandit, you know? You still have a damage buff, and you have a Shock Potentiator with a 2-stat piece and a cool little third perk as well. You can get these Charm of the Storm pieces from Tachyon Rifts. You can get them from a mega level threat. And speaking of Tachyon Rifts, I really advise people to run your daily Tachyon Rifts if you are playing the game. You know, you want to get better gear, you want to level up and stuff like that. You know, definitely play the raid and stuff like that, but be sure to play, you know, your daily Tachyon Rifts. And also for Commander Crawler, I'll take the Dark Hold off, and I'll switch over to the Sacred Nornstone of Lethal Will. And for Commander Crawler, one thing that you want to be sure of, you want to make sure that you have your decoy set up like this right here. So whenever you have it out, whenever Commander Crawler goes up into the air, a lot of the times he'll land right on top of your decoy, which is pretty cool. It won't land on top of you, it'll land on your decoy, and you can explode your decoy as well, and the damage from the explosion scales with might. So that's where the might comes in at. So after Commander Crawler is done, you have the part where everybody has to stand on the purple buttons, and only thing that I do then is make sure that I get my heroics back. So the only thing I'll do is just change over to this Omega Arrow right here just to get my heroics back. And I'll go ahead and prepare for the next section, which is when everybody has to go to the left or to the right. Now when you're speed running, 2 people are going to go to the left and 2 people are going to go to the right. So we're going to go ahead and cover that, because there are a few little tips with it as well, right? So no matter what, one thing I do is make sure I take my Omega Arrows back off, because the only reason I had this on was to get the heroics back, right? I'll go ahead and change this Tachyon's Raid over to a Hawkbird's Mock Arrow. And the main reason I want this is because it deals Vibranium status effect, and the enemies, no matter if you go to the left or to the right, are way less susceptible to status effects that's not Vibranium. So you can get this from the Elite Vaults as well. You can get it, yeah, from the Elite Vaults. And you can also get this piece from the raid, like this right here, or another piece like this one right here, which is pretty good also. But if you do have a piece like this right here, you may want to have a Rate of Fire piece on your slot 1 piece. But if you put the Rate of Fire piece on, then you will miss out on a piece like this one right here. For me, I would prefer to have the Rate of Fire. Both of these are very good options, right? But I like the Rate of Fire a little bit more. I think it's a little bit better. There's no way I can actually really calculate it, because this is missing Valor and Precision, whereas this does have Valor and Precision. This, you know, has a Rate of Fire, whereas this one doesn't. No versus Klaw, I kind of calculated this versus Klaw, and this one won pretty much every single time. I also put back on this Sharpshooter's bodysuit, which I'll run pretty much for the majority of the raid, and I'll put back on this extra warp arrows piece. Now everything else pretty much stays the same, so it's pretty much the same as it was in the beginning of the raid. Only major difference that we changed is we put on this Tachyon's, or we took off this Tachyon's rays and put on this Hawkbird's Arrow Mark 6, right? Now if you're gonna go to the right side, there is one thing that I would suggest, and that is change over to Photon Surge, because you're going to want the little spiders to go towards your decoy, so that way you can run over the buttons. Another thing that you may want to actually do is take off this Nornstone of the Bulwark and equip a piece like this right here, Nornstone of the Vanguard, because you're going to defeat some of the little spiders and they're going to have Vibranium on them sometimes, right? So even though you went to the right side and you're going down the hallway, I don't know if this actually works. I just thought about it like a few minutes ago. The lethal Vibranium conduit will affect the people who went to the left side. Like, even though they're way over on the other side of the map, on the left side, it might affect them. I have no idea. So if somebody wants to try it out, let me know. Feel free. And another thing is, if you are going to the right side with Kate, as soon as the elevator opens, before the cutscene, you know, and Klaw's out for the first blast, as soon as the elevator opens, you want to activate your ultimate, and you want to go ahead and activate your ultimate. That way you can get down there pretty much extremely quickly, right? And you can open the door before the first blast even happens. Now if you are going to the left side, this is what I do. And it all depends on the time. If I'm running with a team that's going to have the raid complete in 20 minutes or less, then I won't run the Darkhold. And reason why I say 20 minutes or less, because it has a time limit on it, because you're going to need the Darkhold later on in the mission, right? But if I can tell the raid is going to take like 23 minutes, I'm going to use the Darkhold, because like I said, you want to use it during this part if you have to go to the left, right? Because again, 2 people can go to the left to go to the right, right? So again, if it's a raid that's like 23, 24 minutes, because I'm going to have to use the Darkhold again a few minutes later, in 5 minutes, which is the cooldown on this right here, I'll go ahead and use it if I'm gonna be able to use it again, which is right where the anti-metal room is, right? Once you get over to the left side, you pretty much immediately want to use your support heroic, and that way the turrets will target your support heroic, which is your decoy, and won't target you. You want to have this on, which is healing light as well. And speaking of skills, you definitely want to have this skill equipped for most of the raid, because you're going to be doing a lot of signature attacks like we spoke about a little earlier. You want to have this equipped right here, the demolition charge. I have my skill tree set up like this right here, pretty self-explanatory. Well, this one is not self-explanatory. You definitely want to have this equipped right here, because when you're doing scatter shots, it's going to increase the recovery rate of intrinsic whenever you're doing your scatter shots. None of these apply to anything dealing with range, and these all have something to do with range. Then after you defeat the enemies on the left side, you're going to jump down. Then you're going to activate your ultimate heroic again, because you just used a Darkhold. So now you're going to have your ultimate heroic back. So now you're going to activate your ultimate heroic and dash back to where your teammates are. And be sure to take off the Darkhold, because you're not going to have any more use for it till later on in the mission. And for this section, I'll run the second Northstar on the lethal wheel, just to make sure that the damage buff lasts a little bit longer. Then you're going to take care of those enemies. Now whenever you do take care of those enemies, one thing that you could do is actually activate your support heroic up on the top back corner, and once you take care of the enemies up on top where they spawn at, you can do an after image back to your decoy and take care of those enemies as well. Then you're off to the forge. Now before you go over to the forge, 2 things. I made a video about how to operate the forge, so I won't be speaking about how to scatter shot the top of it and how to take care of the top. So quite simply, you just go to the bottom of the forge, right? And I'll put the video if you want to learn how to, the best options in my opinion as far as the top of the forge. But whenever you are going to the bottom of the forge, one thing that you want to always remember is that you want to have an assault heroic available. So once you defeat all the enemies up top, immediately you're going to want to go ahead and switch over to jumper. So when you're speed running, quite simply, you just want to go to the bottom of the forge and let the flyers take care of the top. Either one of 2 things that you want to do. You either want to be able to have at least 1 assault heroic, or you want to use your ultimate. Either way, once you get down there, you're going to want to change your gear over again. So I'll just make a quick change. So I'll get down to the bottom of the forge, just make a quick change. I'm probably about to die, which I didn't. So I just had this on. I'll just go over, change just like this right here. The only thing I did was equip this piece right here with the extra heroic recharge rate and the cosmic surge. So whenever I'm on the bottom of the forge, I'm doing the scatter shots, I'm going to get my assault heroics back. Now I'm going to need my assault heroics back is because right after we get done with the forge, I'm gonna have to shoot myself across the map. You don't want to use your ultimate to get across the map to get to the anti-metal room. You want to use your assault heroics. It takes 2 assault heroics to do that, right? And I make sure that I keep the sharpshooter's bodysuit on, because I want to get down to the bottom of the forge as quick as possible. And once we get out of the forge, I want to get to the buttons as quick as possible, because sometimes the buttons aren't up once you get out of the forge. So since you're the first person to get there by a long shot, you want to be able to tell your teammates if the buttons aren't up. And if they're not up, that means that there's still an enemy around somewhere. Now you have the anti-metal room. Now for the anti-metal room, it's a few things that you want to have on priority. As far as a few of the priorities, as far as the skills are concerned, you still want to have this right here, because you're going to go to the back and get the anti-metal escape. You're going to go back there. You're going to change this back over to singularity, and you're going to change this over quantum magnifier. Damage from all quantum energy infused attacks is increased by 10%, and I'm assuming that these razor arrows or quantum attack, I'm not quite too sure on it. I just assume that they are. So you're going to want to change it up to look like this right right here. For your major artifact, change over to 2 triple valor rolls, because that's the priority that you want to have your damage as. You're gonna want as much valor as possible, and you're gonna want to have then as much precision as possible. So you're gonna want to have 2 valor rolls on, right? So right now, yeah, I got two triple valor rolls. And as far as the vest, all you want to do is use a stat stuffer, which I have right here. So valor precision, it's a 2 stat piece. Valor is increased a little bit more, and it's the same thing with this slot 2 piece. You just want a damage buff. If you do have a 2 stat valor piece, prefer to have 2 stat valor and precision, but make sure that you have a damage buff on range critical attack. For your slot 1 piece, you want to have a 2 stat piece, and this is a 2 stat. You get this from the raid, and you want to have this 3rd perk specifically. Same thing with your slot 4 piece. Get this from priority missions, 2 stat piece, valor and precision. The X 20% damage when quantum overdrive is active. So now you have valor and precision on every single slot, as much valor as possible. Stat stuffer right here, and 2 triple valor ISOs. For your major artifact, you're gonna change over to the dark hole. And this is why I said sometimes whenever I go over to the left side and Kate has to go to the left, you may not want to use your dark hole because you're gonna have to use it again later. This is the again later time when you're gonna have to use it. So you're gonna go to the back and get the anti-metal. And before you go to the back, you want to make sure that you don't put your decoy on the red vibranium. If you put your decoy on the red vibranium, you're not going to be able to use your after image to get back. Once you get back, make sure you don't stand like right in the middle, because if you stand in the middle, the vibranium will grow right in the middle, and you're going to activate your dark hole later, and you're pretty much going to be standing still the whole time because you can't fly, and you're going to have the anti-metal, so you're going to have to be in a spot where you can pretty much stand at a stationary position. And whenever you get back, you're going to have probably like 30 seconds on the timer, maybe a little bit more than that. So you don't want to activate your ultimate immediately. You want to wait a few seconds. Wait until there's about 25 seconds left on the timer, right? And the reason why you want to wait is because you want your ultimate to last until the end, and your ultimate lasts for 20 seconds, right? So you want to activate your ultimate when it's like 25 seconds left, because you are going to have to do a few animations during this process, and those animations actually take time, and totally they take like 5 seconds altogether. So that's why you want to activate your ultimate when it's like 25 seconds left. Then you want to start shooting. And before you activate your ultimate, obviously you're going to want to use your raise arrows to take care of some of the clusters. Then you're going to want to start shooting. Obviously give your teammates a countdown. Typically I'll give them a countdown when it's 25 seconds left, because that's whenever I'm popping my ultimate. Then I'll give them a 25-second countdown. Then another one at 15. Another one at 10. Now whenever it's like 5 or 6 seconds left, or you can actually time it out at some point, you're going to want to use your assault heroics. Generally speaking, I'll have 1, maybe 2 assault heroics by the time this process starts. So I'll go ahead and I'll use 1 assault heroic a little bit after I knock out 1 or 2 of the clusters, and I could use them on the enemy, or you can use them on the cluster themselves, on the cluster itself. And then whenever there's 1 second left, that's when you want to activate the dark hole. The reason why I activate the dark hole when it's like 1 second left is because once you activate the dark hole, you're probably gonna die because you have the vibranium at your feet, so more than likely you're gonna die. So as long as you activate the dark hole before the first cutscene happens, you will still get your ultimate back. And once you get your ultimate back, that will lead you right into the part where you shoot Klaw in the eye, and you're gonna have your ultimate, and you pretty much have the same setup, right? You don't have to change a single thing on your setup. You're gonna shoot Klaw in the eye, and you're going to 0 phase Klaw. Now for the stun phase, I did make a video on it, and I'll leave a link in the description. A few things that you do want to do during the stun phase, whenever you are speed running specifically, you want to change over these 2 right here for the stun phase, because this is going to give you the most stun. And you're going to change over to jumper. Like, you really want to change to jumper. You have to change over to these 2 when you're speed running. You want to also change over to this right. Not that it really matters, but you don't have to change this over. I'll just change it back over if you have time. It's really these that matter, right? And then for this section over here, I just pretty much keep it on this section right here. Now, assuming that Kate is going to go to the back, this is how you want to have your setup, because a lot of the times when you speed racing, they come down to 10 seconds, right? Even setting records. Speaking of setting records, go check out my man Dirk Diggler's page. I'll leave a link in the description to his video where before patch 2.6 we did the raid in 18 minutes and 51 seconds. So that was before the buffs, right? This is the build that I ran too during that raid, so I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. So a lot of times when we're doing races, going against another team, it comes down to 10-15 seconds. So I'll make sure I equip this sharpshooter's bodysuit back on for the stun phase. Also target the explosion piece for the stun phase, rate of fire piece for the stun phase. Always make sure have a damage buff up for the stun phase too, right? Because you want that damage buff because it's gonna boost your crit chance. Because you're gonna have the second North Star and Lethal Will on for the stun phase as well. You're gonna want as much efficiency as possible. Usually I keep this piece up at top right here. So switch back over to this efficiency. I'm gonna go to the back. You want a Cosmic Reactive Surge on as well. And that's how you want your setup to look. So you're gonna get that extra decoy speed, or not speed, but extra decoy duration by like 8 or 9 seconds, like something like that. And you're gonna have extra crit chance whenever you have that damage buff active, which you're gonna get from doing the scatter shots. That's gonna make the targeted explosion happen a lot more often. Then you're gonna zero phase the stun phase. You're gonna zero phase it, right? Because everybody else on your team is gonna have on their stun gear as well. As you can see, you want your crit chance to look pretty much like this right here. For your slot 1 piece, you can actually get another piece like this with rate of fire with proficiency on it, but I got one, I just hadn't leveled it up. I really don't feel like leveling up just for that one particular part. Not that much of a sweat, but I am a sweat. Now immediately right after the stun phase, reason why I say equip these right here, so well before the stun phase ends, right before it ends, you want to activate your ultimate, because you're gonna get a white screen right before the stun phase ends, right? That's when you activate your ultimate. Then you're gonna shoot your assault heroics, right? And you're gonna shoot your assault heroic. That's how you're gonna get that back there extremely quickly. Now assuming that you don't go to the back, right? So assuming that you have to stay out and deal damage, the assault heroics don't really matter. I would actually equip jumper and still equip jumper if I had to deal damage, because I feel like the singularity arrow knocks him out of his damage phase for some odd reason. I just feel like it does. And for the damage phase itself, I'll still leave these two on right here. Now I'll equip the Valor and Precision piece with Reverberation Breaker, and for this I'll actually still use this Agent's Charm. Slot 4, I'll go back and forth between this Agent's Charm and this Archer's Charm. Not quite sure which one I like the most, because sometimes I see damage phases lasting longer than 9 seconds. The reason why I say 9 seconds is because this Disruptor extension is going to increase the crit chance. You get a 25% crit chance bonus, you and your teammates, whenever you do this Disruptor extension, and this actually works. So it lasts for 9 seconds, and very rarely do I see a one phase last longer than 9 seconds. So sometimes I don't equip this. Now the defense piece, it's weird. The defense, as far as reducing the damage by 30%, it's weird. The highest numbers I've ever hit is with Kate in this game have came whenever I debuffed the enemy. I have no idea if it was because of the crit chance that you automatically get from it and it just so happened in the crit, or if it's because of the damage decrease as far as the 30%. But I've also debuffed enemies plenty of times and noticed 0 damage increase at all, plenty of times, right? So I'll swap back and forth between both of these pieces, and overall this one is better for just pure damage alone, but you want to make sure that you want to have Quantum Surge active. Now for slot 1, I still run this Rate of Fire piece, and this is just a random drop. Now for slot 2, I still run this Hawkbird's Arrow Mark 6. Now I have tried this piece out right here, and it worked out pretty well, but generally speaking, this one works out a little bit better as far as actual DPS wise, and I did make a video about it a while back. And for the minor, and I'll leave the video in the description, and for the minor artifacts, I run a triple precision and a triple valor piece. Now one thing I did notice is whenever I have a Thor on the team, or a Kamala, or even a Widow, the valor just skyrockets when I have 2 triple valor. It seems like I don't know if it just so happened that they all happen to have the right buffs on whenever that happens, but 2 triple valors work quite well also. That's not a triple valor, but yeah, 2 triple valors work quite well also. But generally speaking, I run a triple valor and a triple precision for the damage phase, and the Sacred North Stone of Lethal Will. And another thing you can do during the damage phase as well is, instead of having this on right here, you want to change this and put this on. Reduce the amount of overcharge meter drained when taking damage by 20%. So every time you take damage, you lose a little bit of your overcharge meter. You want to be overcharged whenever you're dealing damage to Klaw. You don't get a huge benefit, but obviously you get benefits from this perk itself is about as beneficial as what you get from your skill tree. So you do want to be overcharged whenever that happens, whenever the stomp phase happens and you deal your damage. So if you just so happen to get hit, you will take a little bit less of a hit on your overcharge meter whenever you're doing the damage phase. Alright, well that is it. Thank you all for watching. Hope this video helped you out. If you have any questions, just let me know. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Thank you and have a great day.